Welcome to First and 15, the only podcast that's trying to get you paid. I'm here with two-time FFPC champ AB. Alongside him is my guy, Dio the Machine. Guys, listen, this first round pretty much stays stagnant. A couple guys towards the end of the round may pop to the second. Let's go through first round ADPs right quick. And I want to get your general opinion about not only who should stay in that first round, but also where they should go in that first round. So I'm looking at Fantasy Mojo right now, looking at the ADP. C-Mac is going first. How do you guys feel about C-Mac? Has a little tread on the tires, but is going number one overall, pass catching back. We know what he can do. Should he still be going number one overall? Because that's high.
Yeah, honestly, this year, so let me take a step back. So last year, my thing was, let me get wide receiver because I loved where a lot of the running backs were going. I loved a lot of the, running back values. The Rashad White, the James Cook. Some of them didn't hit like the Alexander Madison, but there was just a lot of late round value that I felt was there. And I felt like it was harder when it came to the wide receivers, that mid-tier, that later tier, of really sort of kind of drafting one of those elite wide receivers that could, get you over. My benchmark was 300 plus fantasy points in a PPR league. So I really wanted to make sure that I got one of those top wide receivers. And I think when we look at the way things played out, obviously injury, affected things. But for the most part, when those wide receivers were healthy, they were giving you elite numbers that were very, very difficult to find later on in the draft unless you just, looked up on a few spots here or there. C-Mac, however, C-Mac absolutely destroyed the league last year. So I think he was 101 last year.
Last year Jefferson was 101.
Oh yeah, last year was Jefferson. So, yeah. But I guess he was more top three.
He was top four.
Top three, top four.
Yeah.
So usually early ADPs and mid draft season ADPs, they pretty much are a reflection of the year prior. The year prior. A lot of recency bias, but I don't see any reason why CMC can't be 101. I don't think anybody needs to be 101. Really, I think you can take anybody there. I think this year, where, as opposed to last year, I have no issues going running back in the first round. I have no issues going wide receiver in the first round. I feel like there is value throughout the draft at multiple positions that I feel comfortable and confident with. And that's really kind of what it comes down to when you're drafting. At least, depending on your approach. My approach is I like to see where am I comfortable in the mid rounds, the later rounds, who do I have a high confidence, in as far as, outproducing that ADP and being overweight on said player. So for me, I feel like there are multiple running backs and multiple wide receivers. So really, I'm really just sort of kind of, diversifying quite a bit. And I'm leaning on ADP. So if I have the 101, which I do in an upcoming draft, the hardway draft, I'm probably going to go CMC because otherwise it may be very, very difficult to have a team with CMC.
Yeah.
If you don't take them at 101, and you don't get another 101 pick, you may not be able to have a team with CMC. And we always talk about injuries. I mean, I really feel like injuries, the term injury just gets thrown around a little too loosely.
Yeah.
We talk about he's got tread on the tires or he's injury prone or he's this and that. And the guy, we really don't know. We really don't know. I don't, it's such a random, there's just so much that can happen in and throughout the season that these guys that we talk about are injury prone end up playing more games than guys that we don't talk about. Nobody was talking about the idea that Jefferson could get hurt last year or Chase could get hurt last year or a number of other players could get hurt last year. Breece Hall the year before tore his ACL. Javonte Williams was a superstar running back, tore his ACL. So a lot of, anything can happen. So I really don't, unless a player is actively injured, like he's actively injured right now, or I see that he's significantly tapering off. His play over the last year just seems has just taken a dive. For the most part, I just ignore it. I don't expect any player, including wide receivers, to play all 17 and 18 games. And I'm gonna say this one last thing about C-Mac. One of the nice things about him is that, and I'm making an assumption here, but I think Elijah Mitchell is a handcuff. But even if he's not the handcuff, all of the San Francisco handcuffs or potential handcuffs are going super late. So that is a backfield that you would love to be invested in. And C-Mac goes down and you handcuff him. In this situation, I would love to handcuff, no matter what format. If you handcuff him, I'm feeling just as good as having the handcuff in that particular backfield, the way that offense runs. So,
Yeah, see, sometimes I feel like, though, we're talking in terms of like volume drafting, having more than one team. We do know a lot of guys out there have one bullet in the chamber. If you have one bullet in the chamber, Dio, are you pulling the trigger on C-Mac if you have 101? Or do you want someone like a CeeDee Lamb or a Tyreek who you feel like is going to be there, all season? Like, do you feel that comfortable if you had one team?
If you have one team, I think you have to go C-Mac. Just because, I mean, you're putting yourself behind the field if C-Mac does end up producing the way everybody's expecting him to produce for no reason, right? Like, there's no reason to differentiate if you're really just doing one draft. If you're doing mass drafting, it makes more sense.
Yeah.
But taking with your only draft somebody else at number one, you're pretty much just competing against the teams that took that same player at like 2, 3, or 4, and they're probably gonna have a better player in the second round because they got to choose before you. So I don't really see a point in doing that. With all that being said, I'm a little nervous about C-Mac this year. And this there's no science to this or anything like that, no type of process. My thing is, for the last like 4 or 5 drafts, every single player that's been the consensus 101 has busted. Every single one.
I think there is some science behind it, though. Because for you to be consensus number one, like, that means you were probably really good the year before, which means you probably got a lot of volume, which means, you played like the entire season. And so maybe your body isn't, because you rarely ever do see that repeat.
Yeah.
There was that
I don't remember a time where somebody that was drafted 101 ended up finishing the season as a top player.
Yeah. Well, we had you had the errors where you had LaDainian Tomlinson, so he was like 101 for a period of time, and then you had the Antonio Brown error. C-Mac had like a little bit of an error, but you're right. Like recently,
there was a few years back where C-Mac was a consistent number one again, and then he had a horrible season. And then we ended up drafting him like top 6. And he came back in a great season. So I don't know.
Yeah, like a better way to ask the question of the 101 is like, okay, if I had to put money on who I felt was going to finish, overall, as the 101, I would put my money on Breece Hall.
Okay.
So,
I wouldn't do that.
So for me, like, ranking wise, this is, rankings are different than drafting, especially if you're doing multiple drafts. Ranking wise, I would have Breece Hall number 1.
Oh no, I'm not gonna go that far. I'm definitely gonna. I mean, C-Mac is he's essentially a wide receiver and running back, really. And I just saw you had the numbers up there. I was just looking at him. He looked like he led the league in rushing, 1,400 yards. And then look at his receiving yards. He's number 2 behind Breece. So, I mean, you're literally getting a receiver and a running back. And then look at the touchdowns. The only person that scored more touchdowns than him, did Mostert score more? Well, he scored more rushing touchdowns. I guess they scored the same amount of overall touchdowns.
But
they both got 21.
Yeah. But this is the thing about Breece, though. Remember, he started off the season very slow. They brought him in very slow. Terrible O-line, terrible quarterback play. And so, and really when I say terrible quarterback play, what I mean is that that's minimal plays, minimal drives, minimal scoring opportunities. But look at all the receptions that he had. Look at how he finished the year. He's playing with an Aaron Rodgers, an older quarterback who's really coming off at Achilles, who's not going to scramble. I like the idea of like an old quarterback who's not going to scramble. Or a quarterback who's like mainly in the pocket, who's going to be able to dump it down.
I think the reason I'm more concerned about, just from the times I've watched Aaron Rodgers in the past, and he's not a spring chicken anymore. He's definitely aged, and he's probably, a different type of game. But in the past, Aaron Rodgers, I felt like he's had a similar game as Mahomes, where, he just wants to throw the ball. Even if they're on the 2-yard line, he'll just say, okay, I'm Aaron Rodgers, I'm going to throw this ball. And it kind of takes away some of those red zone opportunities the running back could have. And that's my fear with him. I mean, Aaron Rodgers, I think this season Aaron Rodgers is on a FU tour. If y'all remember, like maybe 4 or 5 years ago, there was a time, I think it was right when the Packers drafted Jordan Love. And, Aaron Rodgers at that time looked like he was descending a little bit. And everybody was just kind of like, writing him off. And then for some reason, something just clicked in his head and he went crazy. And then that's when he got the MVP, I think that's the same type of Aaron Rodgers mindset we're getting this season. I mean, I have nothing to back that up, but
Yeah.
just hearing him talk so much, and he's been involved in all the practices, and the fact that last year, I mean, he was trying to come back at the end of the season for some dumb reason. It's almost like he's trying to prove something.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's basically Aaron Rodgers. but-
Yeah, yeah.
So that's my concern with Brees Hall.
Yeah, but it's close. It's close.
Yeah.
Definitely can't argue
But
that.
definitely 101. I'm taking C-Mac if I have one bullet, but if I have several, again, just for the reason I was saying before, those consensus number ones, and I'm hoping, I mean, I think about this honestly every year. Like last year, I was thinking about like Justin Jefferson. We're all saying he's number one. Man, I don't know, but he had
Yeah.
a crazy season the year. Like, how do you not take him?
Yeah.
And now, you know, in retrospect, probably wasn't.
Yeah.
But even Jamar Chase didn't even have that great of a season
Yeah.
either.
Yeah.
So
That's why I really say, you know, honestly, it does not matter. Like,
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Really, like this year, I want to be on the back end. Like, I strongly want to be on the back end. Most years, I'm like, okay, yeah, I'd love to be like here. I love to be here. I see a tier break here. But this year, I really, 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 truly want to be on the back end. At least the way the board is shaped up right now. Because I love a lot of these guys in the first round.
But in Justin Jefferson's defense, not only did he get hurt, I think he could have came back, but his quarterback also.
But
tore
getting
his
hurt is
Achilles.
part of it too, though.
No. I got you. But I think he could have given you more value if his quarterback didn't get hurt. And I think that was a nightmare scenario that you can't anticipate.
But all that's part of it. I mean, we're playing a game of
Yeah.
fantasy. Like, we're trying
That's
to score
fair.
points. Like, we don't look back at the end of the season and be like, well, you didn't do that great because this happened, so we're going to give you the trophy. Like,
And he
we
still
need
put
those
up points. He
Yeah.
still put up points with Nick Mullins too. So
Yeah.
like, you know, he may be quarterback proof.
Yeah.
The
So let's
problem
talk
with
about.
Jefferson last year was just he missed so many games.
Yeah.
Like, you just weren't able to play him. So by
Yeah.
the time he was producing for you, probably out of the running, unless you had Puka or something.
Yeah.
Let's talk about CeeDee Lamb a bit. I think CeeDee Lamb is consensus number one receiver at this point.
Yeah.
He goes in those first three picks. Right now, I think people are picking CD because of the consistency of not only having Dak there, they know what they're going to get in that offense. Same coach, same quarterback. No additional weapons really added to that offense. How do you guys feel about CeeDee Lamb being number two? Dio, I see you shaking your head.
Nah, I can't
You don't
do
like it?
I can't do it. I still think talent-wise, you have other receivers that are more talented than CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb last year was taking the
More
back
talented?
End. More talented, yeah. CeeDee Lamb last year was taking the back end of the first. Right, that's where he was consistently going. Everybody was
Yeah, but they were wrong about that, though.
I mean, they were wrong. I mean, the Cowboys, the Cowboys just last year they just went crazy throwing the ball. You know, it was like I don't know if I want
Tried
to
to
say
tell
Dak
y'all.
F-U
I tried
type
to tell
season,
y'all.
That's
but
fair.
they were just throwing like crazy. You know,
Right.
and if you really think about it, CeeDee Lamb was the only show in town for the receiver. They barely used Cooks. They didn't use Tolbert much at all. Gallup was still coming back, and he wasn't much of anything. I think I think Cooks and Tolbert are utilized a fair amount more this season. And in the playoff, you saw they used Ferguson a lot. You know, so I think they're going to spread it a little bit more. I think CeeDee Lamb's value came last year just because he pretty much had a lion's share of the targets.
What do you think about Tony Pollard not being there because he's a pass catching back? Some of those targets, like, do you think
But was
CD?
Pollard getting many catches?
Not
last year? I don't
really.
think Pollard was
Not
even getting that
really.
much last
Not
year.
really.
So it's like CD was the only
Yeah.
guy last year.
This is what I would say about CD. I think he's a nice high floor, high upside play. And so I can see the value in taking him at that 102. Not much has changed with the situation. If anything, it's gotten a little bit better. I hear you about the Tolbert and the Cooks, and I think there is a situation where those guys can be better and CD can actually be more efficient because now defenses can't just 100%, zone in on CD. I do expect Tolbert to take a jump. You could see him coming on towards the end of last year, and he was taking time away from Gallup. And there were just plays where you just saw the kind of confidence kind of like
Chris, pull that back up, what you just said.
come out of him. And hearing now like that, there's like a little bit of a slow drum beat, for Jalen Tolbert this off season. Like I could really see him, and there's a potential, with Cooks being a lot older, that he is the number 2 option. Ferguson is a tight end. I know Dak likes his tight end, so right now, yes, we, in my mind, I have
think
Ferguson.
Ferguson is still improving too. I think he's still young, so.
And so right now, he's in my mind, he's the number 2 target. But I would not be surprised if that number 2 target was Tolbert, or if it ended up being Cook. So I like those guys too because they go super, super late in drafts. But I see the value in CD at 102. But again, I'm gonna keep going back to it. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah. I agree with that point. That should be the title of the show. It doesn't really matter. But if you look at the targets, I mean, look at the screen we're looking at. Look at the type of targets CD was getting. He was getting 17.
Yeah.
Got 17, what? Twice, 3 times.
Yeah.
16, 14. Like, that's crazy target share.
Yeah.
And, I mean, if we were for certain, and there's no way we can be for certain, we're not fortune tellers, but if we were for certain he was going to get that type of target share, then okay, I can see it. But look at the games where he didn't have double-digit targets.
Yeah.
Now you're looking at a basic standard of wide receiver 1. And that's the type of wide receiver you would take like in a second, third round right now.
Yeah.
You know, now
Pull up the
vice versa,
schedule. Pull up
look
the upcoming schedule. Let me see the upcoming schedule. real
Vice
quick.
versa, look at, your Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson. Remember, last year they had down years, but they were still very good.
Yeah.
They didn't have a crazy amount of targets. Jefferson wasn't around, and he had Mullins when he was throwing. Burrow was hurt, so he wasn't having Chase. Chase didn't have those Burrow targets all the time. Now you're getting those guys back, and let's not forget Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill is the guy, honestly, not much has changed. He's the one that's been consistently top 3.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know. I guess it kind of goes back to what I was just saying with C-Mac. Just we're putting all our hope in this guy reproducing what he did last year, which honestly very rarely happens.
The odds are he's not going to finish as a wide receiver.
Right. I mean,
So
it's
like,
the odds,
if you just play the odds, like if you're a betting person, you just want to play the odds. The odds are he's
But
not
I
going to
get
finish
it.
as
I
wide
mean,
receiver 1.
we're a species of recency bias, right? What is the last thing we saw? The last thing we saw is CeeDee Lamb going crazy. So I get it. I can't knock it. But honestly, if I was at the 102 and I've only done like 2 drafts, I'm not taking CeeDee Lamb at 102. I'm not.
I'm definitely taking Brees there. That's me.
Well, let's talk about Brees.
Let's talk about Brees for a
You've been
second.
bringing up Brees quite a bit. I guess we talked about him already.
Ever since the end of last year, I was like, that's my number 1 ranked player. I already knew it like before last year had even completed.
So
He
you've
was gonna
been
be
set
my-
on this for a while.
I've been set on this for a while, yeah. That's why I've been throwing it in the chats. I just feel like he is just set up to really be the dominant player in that offense. Again, Aaron Rodgers may be on the FU tour, but he's still 40
ask
plus
you a
year
question
old
then?
and he's coming off of Achilles. Yeah.
Do you think that, first of all, let me go, what they say, mile-high view of it. Do you see the Jets as being a very
Galaxy
good team?
brain is what they.
Oh yeah, I said.
You think the Jets
yeah.
are going to be one of the top teams in the season? Because if their defense is as dominant as everybody's saying, which is, they were pretty good last year, and then you have and again, I'm making an assumption, but I think Aaron Rodgers is going to really try to be a major part of the offense. this year. I don't think he's going to be a game manager, Aaron Rodgers. I definitely think he's going to try to use. I mean, they gave him weapons, right? They gave him Malachi Corley. They gave him whoever else
Mike
they
Williams,
gave him.
Brady.
Mike Williams. They gave him guys to utilize. And again, he's coming back off of surgery. He's almost like, y'all must have forgot who I am type Aaron Rodgers. With all that defense, Aaron Rodgers, and then Brees Hall being that crazy, I mean, you have to then say the Jets are going to be a top 5 team, right?
But they're in
No,
a
not,
tough division.
not
though, so that's
necessarily.
hard.
Well, I mean, Pats you can kind of ignore. Miami's going to be, I think, a little bit iffy. They had a lot of injuries. They lost some good players.
Miami, I think, is coming down a little bit. Buffalo definitely.
Buffalo's
taking a
coming
step
down.
back.
So I don't think it's the hardest division. So I can easily see them winning the division, but I think they're a top-heavy team. I do like that they improved the O-line. So if they can kind of skate by without like too many significant injuries, we do have a competent backup to Aaron Rodgers now with Tyrod Taylor. All the things that you mentioned to me just make me like Brees more. The
So
defense is better, and they're a better team. I like Brees more.
So you think the whole team, like a rising tide raise all ships type thing?
And then if Aaron Rodgers is better and he's like FU and he's opening up the passing game, guess what that's going to do for Brees Lane? This is what I love about Brees Hall. He's one of the few backs who has good vision, who's extremely efficient. And if you put him in a good offense and he sees a crease, he's one of the few backs that can take it to the house 70-plus yards.
Okay.
So you just had that like built in. Like I'm in my mind already, I'm seeing 5 games where he's going to have 60-plus yard rushing TDs
Second
already
question.
built in. Yeah.
Second question. Do you have any concern that they're going to utilize other backs to kind of keep Brees fresh or just have a platoon?
Yeah. Not at all. Not from a stand. Like I don't think he's getting 100%. I don't think he's getting 90%, and I don't even think he's getting 80%. Really, all I need is 65, 70%, and I need him getting like if he's getting 75 to 80% of the actual touches, I think he could easily smash.
So let's switch the question.
Because if you look at C-Mac, if you go back to C-Mac's usage, I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but I think he was closer to 65, 70% or so of the total touches. in the San Francisco backfield. So he smashed because he was so efficient. Caught a lot of passes, scored a lot of touchdowns, but he was very efficient, and he was in a very efficient offense. So you don't need like 100% of the touches. You don't need the Derrick Henrys of old to be able to be that dominant.
The biggest reason why those two things I can't compare at the moment because C-Mac's situation is not changing at all, right? Like it's going to be the exact same offense, exact same pieces on the team, offensive wise and defensive wise. I think Jets, we don't have to, but for me, I personally have to take into consideration there's a lot of changes. You know? So I really can't just look. I mean, he looked great last year. I agree with you. I mean, he was extremely efficient. I mean, he wasn't even getting a full workload. He was going crazy. But I just can't look at what he did last year and just say, okay, it's going to happen the same way. And honestly, I'm a Braylon Allen fan. I was in college.
Yeah.
Big dude. He was like the biggest running back in the draft.
That's some draft
They
capital,
drafted him.
too.
He drafted in the 4th round. I don't think that's the type of running back you draft in the 4th and you don't utilize. Like I think, like he's not a special running back where he's just cold, but it's like he has that prototype of a specific skill set where it's like short yardage, goal line. And I mean, we don't know what they were saying in their room. They might have really loved him. You know, I do remember hearing they liked this Isaiah Davis, who they also took like a round later. And then we still got Izzy Abanikanda. So, I mean, obviously it could be a thing where the season plays out and Brees just gets all the carries, but I just can't ignore all these young, highly touted running backs that they just recently drafted. Like they're all young.
See, I mean, I don't know. I look at that list and I'm just, that again makes me like Brees even more.
Yeah.
So let's move on, guys. Pick number 4. It looks like Tyreek Hill is the second receiver off the board. We know what Tyreek can do from being in Kansas City.
I think he should be the
same
top
thing.
receiver, actually. And I'm not saying he's going to reproduce. I mean, I'm not saying he's going to end up being wide receiver 1. I think what I'm more so saying is he's been the only one that's been consistent in the last 3-4 years.
But he's starting to get a little long in the tooth.
He is.
And we still got Jalen Waddle there. So
he was there last year. But
he got banged up, and so
Jalen Waddle was banged up a lot.
Tyreek Hill got banged up.
But
That's
Waddle
true,
got
but not
banged
like
up
Waddle,
a lot.
though.
Waddle got banged up a lot. That's one reason why I love him, because I feel like
I like Waddle too, but I just think Tyreek Hill just has. I mean, he's still going to be one of the fastest people on the field. Like, he's not slowing down.
Yeah.
He's still. They didn't bring any major competition, I guess, unless you want to say Odell.
No.
Which is not really much of anything.
Yeah.
So. I mean, and that offense is still going to want to be high flying. Mike McDaniel is still offensive genius, in my opinion. So I just think, and then again, I'm not saying he's going to end up being wide receiver 1, but I would bet that he would end up being a top 4 or 5 wide receiver.
I have no issues with anybody wanting to take Tyreek Hill 101.
Right.
101?
Like, I have no
I
issues.
can see that.
Like, again, this is like all kind of just, whatever you want to, whatever you feel, however you feeling like building your draft, or wherever you feel like, okay, I feel more comfortable getting my like RB1 in the later rounds. Then maybe you go, with one of these wide receivers and start to draft.
Yeah. Here's a question that I have for both of y'all, actually. When you're picking that first round draft pick, like, how low can they get before you still feel like it's a good pick? Meaning, like, when we're talking about a first round draft pick in draft season, but they finish as a top 8 receiver, let's say number 8, do you still feel like they gave you that first round draft capital if you were able to start them?
See, here's the thing, though. Here's
week?
the thing, and I think more fantasy people got to talk about this. In reality, right? Where a player finishes at the end of the season is not that relevant to me. I think where these players really stick out to you is where they produce at certain times of the season, like playoff time, championship time, or tournament time. And then the way they produce. Like, are you going to get a guy that's consistently giving you 12 points a week? Okay, that's cool. I mean, I'm consistently getting double digits, but am I really excited about that? Or am I going to get a guy that can give me 25, maybe next week give me 5, which, I'm not pleased about, but I know he can give me 25 or he can give me 30, which is kind of like the Devon A-Chain type situation. I personally prefer the guy that can give me those high outputs, because when if the stars align, and he gives me that during the playoffs or the tournament, that can be something that kind of puts me over the top. So just going by how they finish at the end of the season, I mean, that's cool. I mean, I saw the list that you had up. Some of those names, I mean, I guess that's cool, but I wouldn't be excited having them on my team.
Yeah, this is a thing, and a lot of sites don't do this. Rankings to me, I not only do I like dislike them, I think they are very, very misleading. you really need to be able to, sort by points per game.
Yeah.
Because one, like points per game to me is so much more important. Okay, where you finish last, like if you play like a guy like Michael Pittman, a lot of people are high on Michael Pittman.
That's a
Michael
good example of what I was talking about.
Yeah, Michael Pittman played almost every single game, and like what was his like final output? He maybe finishes like a top 10 wide receiver, and I had him last year. I loved him, but that's because I was getting him in the 7th, 8th round. But that's not. But
He
to
actually
me,
had a
that's
pretty
like
good stretch, though.
yeah. But that
That's
to
not
me,
a bad little stretch.
yeah. But to me, like if you sort by points per game, you'll have a better reflection of like where Michael Pittman actually finished in relation to guys like Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase or some of these higher end guys. And I just think it allows you to better put these guys in the tier. Same thing with like a Mike Evans. So that way you can take out the games that they missed, and you can look at how they produced when they were actually playing. The other thing that's important too is like when a guy gets injured, you are not taking a 0 at that spot. I almost think there like needs to be like some type of, stat calculation or metric where you can like take, average point per replacement. I don't know how you would figure that out, but average point per replacement, and then you would add it to the missed time of said wide receiver. So you have Justin Jefferson's, all of his games that he's played, and then you have the games that he didn't play, and you would add in this, average point per replacement, to then like come up with what his total points could be, just to like give you a better sense of like, okay, when you sort by
That sounds like a
rankings.
pretty cool stat. You should make it.
But either,
No, that sounds pretty cool, actually.
but either way, like points per game to me, like that to me is like the key. That's the number one thing to go by. And then like Dale said, like I do like to go through the game logs and see like what did this guy do? Like how many 55-point games did this guy have? Is this a guy that I can see having additional 55-point games in the future, or was this just sort of kind of just one of these fluky, Danny Woodhead, in the season, 3 TDs and, things that like are highly unlikely to repeat themselves.
So going back to your question, so if I do have a guy that finishes, again, wide receiver 8, again, it just kind of depends the quality of that wide receiver 8.
Yeah.
So
At some point, we're going to need to talk about Gardner Minshew. I don't think we need to do it here.
Why?
Because I think Gardner Minshew is a starting quarterback, and I think just looking at these Michael Pittman numbers, I think Devontae Adams could have the same kind of streak.
well, let me ask you, why do you think Minshew is a starter?
Because I think he's the best quarterback on that roster.
Are you the coach?
Yeah, you're
No,
not the
I know.
coach.
Yeah, I know, but but like we make those value judgments whenever we're drafting players of who we think is going to be.
No, we're pretty certain who the starters are. I think the Raiders are the one team. Is there any other team? I guess.
Yeah, I don't
all
know who
other
the starting
rookies.
quarterback is for the Raiders.
Yeah, the Raiders are the one
I
team
hope
we
it's
know
Minshew.
it's not certain. But if we go off of face value, right now they have O'Connell taking all the first reps. They're telling him he has the
And
first
the
crack.
and the head
so
coach is
he's in the driver's seat right now. I mean, all I'm saying is it has to
I've
be
seen
changed.
O'Connell, and I know that O'Connell.
Well,
is not his starting
that was his first year, right?
That was
Yeah.
his
That
rookie.
was
He was rookie year. He had some
a
up and down
rookie where he
moments.
didn't start the season as a starter, and the coach changed him middle of the season.
Yeah.
That's
And they
fair.
might have a different offensive coordinator right
Yeah.
now, so I don't know.
They do
That's
have
I
a
mean,
different-
I'm not
yeah.
drafting no Raiders anyway.
No, me either. Well, I'll draft Devontae Adams.
I ain't drafting that. Let me tell you why I ain't drafting Devontae Adams. All right, last season, bro, and it was the playoffs. It was in my home league.
Oh yeah, man.
Playoff game.
Yeah.
I feel like it was a holiday because I was visiting my sister at the time.
Yeah.
Maybe it was Christmas. Bro, this man gave you like 2 catches in the first half and did nothing in the second half. And I was like, I lost by less than a point. I said, just give me 1 catch.
Yeah.
So I lost 1 catch. Gave me nothing. So now I'm good on that. Once you burn me, man, you on my death list.
That's a deep wound that's not healing. it
Speaking
sounds
of
like.
burn, Jamar Chase is not expected to show up to camp until he gets a new contract. Obviously, T. Higgins.
Is that what they're saying?
Yeah. T. Higgins still isn't
I
there.
haven't
He's
heard
not
that.
showing up.
Well, he's not.
He's not coming to OTAs.
He's not coming to OTAs.
But they didn't say he ain't showing up. T. Higgins the one.
I'm hearing Jamar Chase isn't coming to camp.
Both of them will be a training camp. They're not. They really have very little say or pull in this situation. But I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Chase gets his contract. But
He's definitely going to get his contract.
Yeah.
I don't understand Chase's thing though. Like, you're jumping over T. Higgins to get. I mean, T. Higgins got to get paid first, right? T. Higgins drafted the
T.
year
Higgins is
before.
out of there, man. Like, they're looking to ship T.
I'm just saying, like,
He's out of there.
right now, T. Higgins is trying to get paid, and Jamar
Right.
Chase, you're gonna be like, hey, I'm gonna let you finish, but
Yeah.
I need my money too. Like, come on, man.
Like, I'm not understanding why the Bengals aren't paying both of these guys. To me, it doesn't make a lot of sense. You have Burrow, you got this sort of kind of I want to call
They
actually
really
I
don't have anybody else to pay either.
yeah, like I don't understand why they're not paying him.
But
And if
look,
you're not
Nixon,
gonna pay him,
though.
why
But
not like?
think about what I was just saying. If they pay Chase first, you're basically saying F you to T. Higgins and you're out the door, right? Like, just order-wise.
Yeah.
If they say, okay, Chase, we're going to give you your money,
Yeah,
T. Higgins got to be sitting there like,
damn.
man.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
Like, I'm done.
Yeah.
So they might be thinking, like, we got to deal with the Higgins thing first. Chase, you're going to get your money, and Chase might just... But I still just don't understand why Chase is even winning his money right now, because he hasn't even hit his 50-year option yet.
I don't think so. It
hasn't.
doesn't feel like it.
It doesn't. They don't have the option until next year. So he's trying to get paid 2 years before he even has time to get
Well,
paid.
I mean, that's just more contracts for him. You're trying to get as many contracts as possible.
Yeah.
I guess.
Okay. But yeah, as far as where he's going in drafts, again, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
No,
I
but
don't
what do you think about
yeah,
this season?
I wouldn't. I like him this season. I feel like with the exit of Mixon and potentially we need Joe Burrow to stay healthy. I think if you have a healthy Joe Burrow, I think Chase just has all the upside in the world. I don't really know what this offense is going to look like as far as, if it's going to change much. I know Callahan's gone, but
Why
they
would
still-
it change though? I don't see it changing.
Yeah, I
at
know.
all.
Yeah,
Oh, Callahan, the OC.
yeah, but the head coach is obviously, offensive-minded head coach. I guess he's the one who kind of really brought over the offense. But still, when I say change, I just mean like more tweaks because, the first year, and again, this may go back to the kind of too high safety thing. The first year, we were seeing a lot of downfield action from Chase. The most recent years, he's been operating very, very close to the line of scrimmage. He's been lighting up in the slot. They've been moving around, which I love. But I'd like to see some fine balance, where we're also getting some of the downfield looks as well.
Hold
We
on,
even saw him used in the
Oh,
backfield
look,
as well.
it does say
Look
they
at this.
exercise a 50-year option. So I guess he is up for a contract.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but hold on. We just had this long conversation about consistency and putting up big numbers. Chase has had some dud weeks with just some feasting weeks that's on here too.
Right,
like
but
if you
again-
take off that 52 week, week 5, 52 points.
Ooh, he
And
gave you 52 though.
52.
He gave you 52.
Week 13,
52.
31
But again, what
points.
we were saying before, Burrow was hurt.
Yeah.
Remember we were
That's
using
fair. Okay, okay,
who was that
okay.
quarterback that I picked up that actually got me in the
Oh, yeah.
playoffs?
That was
God.
killing.
Who's
that?
that?
That just got to the playoffs. Was actually doing Allen.
No, that wasn't Allen.
No.
What was his name?
One of those white boys, man.
Brownie.
Jake Browning. Yeah.
Jake Browning.
Jake Browning. He was dealing with Jake Browning, man. And even that Jake Browning gave him a 31-point game, but Jake Browning was just trash, man. Y'all remember that?
He had some serviceable weeks.
He had some really good weeks.
But I'm saying for you to expect much from Chase,
Right.
Yeah.
it just wasn't there.
Yeah.
I mean, he became a pumpkin at some point.
Yeah. All right. Amon-Ra got his contract. Offense doesn't seem to change very much
See,
either.
that scares me. That first point you just made.
Because he got his bread.
Yeah, but
Every time somebody gets paid, I get nervous.
Yeah, but look at the pedigree.
Every time.
Number one, look at his personality. Look at his pedigree. This does not look like a dude that is going to take off and say, "Oh, I got my contract."
Yeah,
Like, when your dad Mr. Universe and he names you Amon-Ra St. Brown,
Amon-Ra.
like
He
know,
just-
I mean,
God.
but okay, so what happened to Quinius?
Yeah.
St. Brown.
I mean, he just wasn't as good.
Okay,
Sometimes
so
you can work as hard as you want to work, but you know.
So as far as Amon-Ra St. Brown, again, I'm always nervous when a guy gets paid because I don't know what type of motivation they have at that point.
Yeah.
Because remember, he always had that chip on the shoulder. I was one of the what he was able to name all the receivers drafted before
Yeah,
him was the fifth
yeah.
round pick, yada yada yada. Once you get paid the way you got paid, you can't say any of that no more. Like you're now a top 5 paid wide receiver. Like everybody respect. I mean, it's no disrespect anymore. You got paid for it.
Yeah.
But besides that point, the only thing that concerned me, and I like Amon-Ra, I don't have a problem where he's drafted now. Again, it's one of those things where last year we were drafting him a little bit later. Did he really have a season where we feel like his value went up? I don't know. I think he had a season where we kind of expected it. Like, I remember Amon-Ra having him on some teams. There were some weeks where it was like, I'm not really that excited, but it's cool to have him. But what I was going to say was the
Finished as receiver 3 though.
I felt like he would. I felt like he definitely outproduced his ADP last year.
I mean, looking at it now, he definitely had some good. I guess those. Well, he actually had a pretty good season. Actually,
Yeah.
he had a pretty good
And was
season.
there- it was
so I
there
might
for you in
take
the
that
playoffs,
back.
too.
But I want to know what's gonna happen. And again, I guess the biggest takeaway for me is always when there's changes, I try to kind of in my mind figure out how that affects things, right? So the changes for me here is I think Laporta is another season in. He had a great season last year as a rookie. And you know they trusted him, so he might ascend a little bit more. But on top of that, Jameson Williams been getting a lot of buzz. Keep in mind, Jameson Williams was a first-round pick.
Has the talent too.
Top,
It's just
top
not
15.
clicking.
Yeah, it wasn't clicking. I mean, the year before he was hurt, then the year where he got a deal with gambling, so he got suspended, and I think he was hurt as well then. So, but with all that being said, I mean, I still like Amon-Ra. I still think he'll produce. It's just I don't know how much more he'll produce. And I guess the biggest thing for me is, would I take Amon-Ra over Justin Jefferson? And the answer is probably no. Like, I would still have Jefferson over him.
Even with a quarterback sort of like really up in the air, because we don't know what J.J. McCarthy is going to be.
Man,
or what,
I would be really scared if it was J.J. McCarthy.
Yeah, I would be scared if it was McCarthy. I think it's going to be Darnold, actually.
Like,
I'd be scared if it was McCarthy.
I would actually be, if I draft, like, and I think I have maybe a handful of J.J. teams. Like, I'm pulling for Darnold.
Yeah, definitely Darnold.
I'm pulling for Darnold. I know everybody knocking him, but that's who I would prefer.
And let's not
forget
either, and we basically just skipped B. John, but let's not forget that coach, Kevin McConnell, he is a great offensive mind. Like, he knows how to get the
former
guys
quarterback,
his
right?
ball. I mean, you know, so, I mean, even when Justin Jefferson came back, I don't know if you can pull up his numbers, when he came back and who was he dealing with, that quarterback?
Nick Mullins.
Yeah. He still was producing, right?
Nick Mullins was putting up, he was putting up a lot of INTs, but he was also putting up some numbers too as well.
Yeah, so, I mean, I just think we went from, again, where we started off with this pod, Justin Jefferson was the #1 guy last year.
Yeah.
Like, #1. And then a year later, we just dismiss him.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm there yet. Like, he still has a
But a lot has changed with the situation. The questionable quarterback play will
look, he
definitely
put up
knock you
36 points. 36? Bruh.
26.
26 with Mullins?
Yeah. But look at the thing. Look at 15, 16, 17, 18, 10 targets, 10 targets, 10 targets, 14
Even before
targets.
he got hurt. Look what he's doing before he got hurt. 24, 25, 27.
Yeah.
Like, how do you just ignore that, right?
Yeah.
You don't. That's why he was #1. That's what I'm saying. Like, you know, to me, looking at the points per game is a lot more important. And when you look at the points per game like that, you know.
And I'm sorry, Abby, did you want to speak about Amon-Ra? I feel like I took all the time.
No, I feel like he's like where he's going is like basically about where I would take him.
Where is he going right now? Is that 6? Is that the 6?
Yeah,
Okay,
six.
would you take him on 106?
That's a little early.
If the draft played out exactly this way, C-Mac, CD, Brees, Hill, Jamar, Abby is now on the clock.
You take Puka above Amon-Ra, and you take.
I would
Justin
not take. I
Jefferson.
would not take Puka above my. No, I would not take Puka. No, I would take.
You have taken Puka above.
No, I have not. No, I have not. You've not seen me in a
Chris
draft
about to
ever
pull up the
taken.
receipts.
Pull it up. Pull it up. I guarantee you
Pull
right
up the
now.
receipt.
Put money on
No,
it.
real talk though. Would you take him?
JJ and Amon-Ra are very close. I don't know in the vacuum.
Would you
who
take
I would
Bijan over either?
Depends on how I'm feeling.
How you feeling right now?
After
You
the
got
schedule,
60 seconds.
After the schedule release, I'd probably go
50
Amon-Ra,
seconds.
JJ, then Bijan.
Okay.
But tomorrow I may take Bijan first.
Okay.
Bijan, I just saw the schedule release, and I don't like players who potentially may have like a difficult start to the season.
What's the start?
Can you pull up the schedule real quick? I feel like he's got some tough matchups. I think one of them being the Steelers. That's like a defense that I'm high on. I want to say another one is the Browns.
I mean, y'all know how I feel about, strength of schedule.
Yeah.
Like, I always feel like we don't know shit. Like, we think we do, but we don't know shit, man.
Yeah.
And the team that can look like they're like, imposing now, shoot, by week 2, we're like, man, this team is trash. Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, and that's why that's for me. It's like mostly like on the extremes only. So like I'm really only considering the extremes. So Pittsburgh, Philly's not that. Okay, maybe the schedule's not that
Philly?
bad. Maybe it's not scary. KC is still tough potentially. So maybe it's not that bad.
Philly's kind of retooled though, so I mean,
Yeah, I don't know what that
The thing
They
with
were told
Philly,
with their defensive coordinator.
yeah, that's the D coordinator Vic Fangio. That's the only thing I see with it. And that might be a big thing,
Yeah.
But other than that,
Okay, maybe it's not that bad. Maybe it's not that bad.
New Orleans don't really scare me. Tampa Bay don't really scare me.
no,
Does
yeah,
Tampa
that
Bay,
division is so
Yeah.
weak.
Tampa Bay, I think they have a defensive lineman that's asking for
Yeah.
money, or maybe that's a receiver. Vita Vea got paid already. I mean, maybe it's a lineman. They might be worse. I don't know, man. I'm just making things up, but. I
Okay,
really feel
actually,
like-
looking at this, like, okay, I'll take that back. Bijan, JJ, Amon-Ra.
Then you just switched
Right
the whole
now.
thing. You just went
I
totally.
told you, like, hey, honestly, it don't really matter.
It don't matter. You're right. It don't matter.
It don't really matter.
Yeah, you're right.
All right, so we've already talked about Justin Jefferson. Jameer Gibbs is number 9.
I do not get that
I don't get it either.
at all.
Yeah, me
I mean, he
neither.
didn't even start last year.
Yeah.
Me neither.
And I'm not saying he wasn't great. He was great.
Yeah.
But he didn't start.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was straight efficiency.
Yeah.
And in the passing game.
Yeah, I don't like the idea that like I am not like 100% sure that he is getting the majority of the touches in that backfield throughout the majority of the season
And the
without
worst
an
thing
injury.
about it is
Or
David
goal
Montgomery
line.
looked good.
Yeah,
Like, it ain't even a thing where it's like, remember Jamal Williams was like, man,
Yeah.
get this dude out of here.
Yeah,
like, he's
yeah.
just vulturing. Like,
vulture his
yeah,
goal line
David
touches.
Montgomery actually looked, there was times David Montgomery looked better
yeah.
than Gibbs.
And I'm expecting Montgomery to get the majority of the goal line touches as well. So like, I mean, I'm sure Gibbs is gonna get some, but like, this is so much. Like, he's an electric player. Like, you know, obviously he's like the A-Chain plus A-Chain going like second, third round. So I mean, I get why people are doing it, but
He is
that's
not A-Chain plus. A-Chain is the best running back.
Okay.
Stop
But-
playing my man's name.
Yeah, that's the one. That's like the first round pick where I started like feeling a little queasy. This and then I would have all those other guys that we've talked about. You know, basically the Bijan, JJ, Amon-Ra, and then I'm looking at Garrett Wilson and Puka. And then I'm looking at AJ Brown, and then I'm looking at Jonathan Taylor.
Is that your order?
Yeah, and then I'm looking at Jonathan Taylor, and then I'm looking at like Travis Kelce.
Bro, we gonna get there, man.
I'm just trying to put it
let's
in
get
context.
to-
I'm trying to put it in context where Jamar Gibbs is basically for me like I feel a lot more after those guys in the second round.
I would take Gibbs behind JT and Barkley. And honestly, I would look closely at Kyron and be like, because think about it, the only reason, for me, I feel like the only reason Kyron is not going higher is because people are concerned about
Blake Corum.
Coral.
Yeah.
And then also the injury, like he's dealing with injury right now, foot
Yeah.
injury. Like I think that's the only. If you told me Kyron was gonna give me 85% of what he did last year, I think Kyron would be a first round pick.
I love taking him in the. I mean, like the back end of the second round was his ADP just being pushed down. Like,
But real quick, going back to Gibbs, and it really just dawned on me: if Amon-Ra is number 6 or ADP 6, and Jameer Gibbs is ADP 9, why is Jared Goff going so late?
because he does not run whatsoever.
So it's just the running.
Yeah, he just.
Yeah,
I mean,
but you have to think that Jameer Gibbs is going to produce, as a pass catcher.
I mean,
So-
for Amon-Ra to score
Right.
a touchdown and Jameer Gibbs to score the touchdown
So-
we usually expect him to get, it has to be
Right.
through the passing game.
So this is what I would say. I think this year is different because you look at the board of QBs. There's so many QBs that are below. So it's like, why isn't Jared Goff going so high? But look at who Jared Goff is going around. It's not like Jared Goff is being slighted in any way. Like Trevor Lawrence is going ahead of him. Tua is going after Jared Goff. Justin Herbert's going after Jared Goff. Kirk Cousins is going after
Tua
Jared Goff.
actually is the same boat as Goff in my opinion.
Yeah. So he's
I
going
feel
where he
like-
should be going.
I feel like Goff and Tua should be considered going over Purdy. Both those rookies, again, just like we were talking about last week, the mystery box.
Yeah.
I think that's the only reason those guys are taking it high.
Yeah.
But if we just if they have fair season, I mean, I don't know, you can't really tell. But I'll probably take Goff over both the rookies.
But look, they're basically going all kind of in the same
that's
area.
true,
Like
that's
it's appropriate, and this is higher than where he was going last year. So I don't think he's being
It
slighted.
was just
in
one of
any
those
way.
things where, like, a couple years ago, remember we were talking about how Waddle and Tyreek were going like top 2 rounds. We were
Yep,
like, why
yep.
is Tua going so
Tua?
like?
Yep.
Or even last year we were talking about the 49ers receivers going
Yeah,
so
we
high.
could- yeah,
and
we kept
Purdy
saying-
was
yeah.
going like
Yeah,
I don't get it. Like,
Not only was he going late, he was like not being
he
drafted.
wasn't being drafted.
He wasn't being drafted.
Like these
Yeah.
guys, the only way they're going to produce is if
Yeah.
the quarterback puts the ball in their hands.
Yeah.
If the quarterback does that, the quarterback is scoring points.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I say all that, but I'm not drafting Goff.
So you could look at this board and like I don't really like drafting a lot of these guys early on, so I pretty much just like ignore like that top tier. And then everybody below that, like I just consider an immense value because of like, opportunity cost or expected value. Like I love all those guys going from like the Joe Burrow, Dak, Love, Kyler Murray, Jaden. Just give me any of those guys. And I usually like taking a stab at 2 of those guys. And this year I've actually taken 3 quarterbacks, especially if I go like later than that. Like if I'm like, really just sort of kind of, fade these quarterbacks, I may go Birdie and then grab like a T-Law or something like that.
Birdie?
And then
Who's Birdie?
Purdy, sorry.
Oh, Purdy,
Brock Purdy. And then Deshaun Watson going like as late as he's going, like he's just to me it's just so hard to pass up on. So like a quarterback, off topic discussion. For whatever reason, I don't know why the quarterback position like as a whole just really doesn't get the respect that it deserves. This position like scores the most points for you on a week in and a week out basis. To me, it's also one of the more easily predictable based on like their matchup that week, based on Vegas points totals, based on if the quarterback runs or not. So like, because we used to like always had this discussion like, oh, I just want to, I'm just gonna take one quarterback. Why waste a roster spot? But in essence, like what I did last year is I took 2 or 3 because I was like my thing last year was taking Dak and Daniel Jones, Dak and Daniel Jones, and like
that didn't work out.
It worked out perfectly. Because
How did it work out perfectly when Daniel Jones is hurt?
Well, Dak went off.
Dak went off. That's what. But the idea is that I increased my chance of hitting at the highest scoring position.
But
so
if you
why
didn't
take just one?
But if you didn't draft Daniel Jones, it would have been the same thing.
Say what?
If you didn't draft Daniel
I know, but like, what are the? But how many people? And how many people did y'all hear like really touting Dak last year?
Not many.
Not many at all.
You would have been fine
Not
just taking
many at
Dak.
all.
We would have put a period at the end of the sentence and kept it moving.
Well. But that's the whole point. Is like I don't know. I didn't know.
I think the reason being though is the argument against it is just the fact that people are like, if you take Hurts, when are you going to sit Hurts down for the alternative? And the reason is
When he get
obviously
hurt?
injury.
When he gets hurt,
or if he's just having a dud season, you know. And if you're going to draft Hurts, you don't draft it with the plan for him to have a dud nor get injured. So I think that's the argument against it. And honestly, when you're drafted, you kind of have to have a sense of confidence in your picks. Like you're picking these guys because you're trying to say these guys are going to be the guys that are successful this season, and they're going to take me to where I'm trying to go at the end of the year. So I mean, I get it, but I also get what you're saying, especially now with the amount of injuries you had recently. And the fact that, like you're saying, the replacement value of these quarterbacks, I mean, you can take, like you just said, Deshaun Watson going with the 18th, 19th round. I mean, I could see a scenario where Deshaun Watson has a good season. I can see a scenario where Baker has a good season. Geno has a good season. Like, I can see these. Stafford has a good season, you know? So I could shoot, Aaron Rodgers going down there. So I can see all of that. And I'm kind of in the same boat with you. I'm taking my quarterbacks late this season so far.
And it just depends on the cost of me. Like, I feel like, like we're starting to see Caleb Williams really like fall down the board. So like I think I can't remember if I like drafted like one of these early
board?
I think I in my last draft I got him like in the 13th round. And I was like, all right, well, he was going in like the 8th, 9th round, like at his peak value. So because we're getting reports that he's like struggling in camp, and it's like May, then I'm gonna go ahead and take the drop in ADP and take
My thing with Caleb is he a runner?
Yeah, he can run. He can run. He scrambles.
Like, is he a true runner or is he more like a scrambler?
He's a scrambler looking down the field, but your rookie season, when you're trying to win games, like I do think we get some rushing out of him. Yeah. But I like the fact that he's just got so many weapons, and he's got a running back that like all these guys could take it to the house.
So
at any point.
What makes Caleb's value so much more than like Stafford?
Stafford has so little upside. Yeah. Go look through his game logs. This dude like has so little upside.
I mean, but if Caleb doesn't run, and maybe you're saying,
no, I think he runs a lot more than Stafford. Okay, like Stafford does not.
So you think Caleb's going to run this year? Yeah, Stafford don't run. I agree. Stafford doesn't run, but so if he's just throwing the ball,
they also run quite a bit in the red zone. That's why we saw Kyron. Like I think that's just like a Sean McVay.
Shoot, they might do that this year.
Exactly.
Swift. Yeah. I'm talking about the Bears.
Oh, the Bears.
But Swift, man.
Exactly. And then you got.
Are we sure the Bears are gonna even be good this year?
I don't know, but like it's so late. That's what I'm saying. That's the whole point. That's why I take multiple quarterbacks. I think this could happen. I could see the scenario, but this is the highest scoring position. Why am I only giving myself one out?
I think is the ideal spot. In this ADP board, 8th and 9th round.
Exactly.
I think those are the quarterbacks you should target.
But even in the 10th round, because you can still make arguments. Like I know you kind of like Roma Dunste a little bit. Devin Singletary, at least to start the year as a starting quarterback. Tajay Spears, Cortland Sutton, we'll see. Even Brian Robinson, like if you're just like in need of a running back. And then like when you start getting kind of like that 9th round, 10th round, that's when we're starting to look at like all the backups. So I'm taking backup running backs, but I'm just like, I'm going, just one quarterback, like, and hoping that this quarterback stays healthy, hoping that this quarterback can produce in and out. And your quarterback is always going to come up against matchups that you're just not going to feel comfortable with. Right. Yeah, this is Jalen Hurts and this is Josh Allen. We just going to roll with the punches. But let's not forget, like, We were benching Patrick Mahomes last year.
I wasn't.
I was benching him, and rightfully so. He was not a very good producer, points per game at the quarterback position. You could have had 12 other quarterbacks producing better points per game than Patrick Mahomes last year.
Yeah.
So, like if you would have given yourself more outs, you would have given yourself more upside.
I mean, let's look at Mahomes though. He's not much of a runner either, right? So with Mahomes, all we're banking on is just throwing a bunch of touchdowns. And look at last season, he threw.
I don't know, like 45 yards, 30, 28, 51 for a quarterback. That's
He
not too
scrambled a
bad.
bit. He scrambled.
I mean, that's scrambling, but that's not running, right?
But you don't get
but
any
to
of that
ask
from
for-
Stafford.
Yeah, but to
That's
ask,
true.
I mean, like how many quarterbacks are going to give you more than?
But look at his
51 yards?
passing touchdowns. Like he only had 2 games over 2 touchdowns.
That's the issue.
That's crazy to me.
Yeah.
I think that's the blind spot we're all seeing. I mean, we're all missing right now with Mahomes. If they're gonna keep up with this Pacheco stuff and really ground and pound and controlling the clock and having a solid defense, they might not need to throw a million.
I honestly don't. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I could easily see like Mahomes like throwing 50 touchdowns this year again. With
How
the
many
weapons
did he throw
that he
last year? Does it show a total right there?
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't show a total. I'm curious.
Yeah, I could easily see him throwing 50. So I'm not saying that like fade Mahomes. I'm probably not gonna have.
I mean,
much
he does
Mahomes,
got
but-
better weapons this year too.
Yeah.
So I can see that.
But it's just one of those things where like, okay, I'll take your Mahomes. You started Mahomes 17 games and getting your production, and then I'll just take my 2 or 3 QBs that I'm alternating week by week, starting based on matchups, starting based on Vegas points totals, based on opposing pass defense, etc., and then hope that my QB1, QB2 points per game outscores your Mahomes points per game, or is at least close to it. And I got my guys much later, and I got to take stabs at those high upside guys in those early mid rounds.
I feel you. The next guy is what, Puka?
Yeah, so Puka. Let's talk about Puka for a second because I think we're overvaluing Puka a little bit. I get it. He had a great rookie season, but Kupp was got banged up early, so I felt like, look, with a coach like McVay, he is able to pivot and game plan for Puka, and that's all we saw sort of Puka step into that Cooper Kupp role. What happens if Cooper comes back and he's healthy, and now McVay can sort of scheme, like Cooper Kupp open? Do we see a massive dip for Puka? I think we can see it. I just don't see him duplicating the same season that he had last year.
Blasphemy.
Blasphemy.
Yeah,
I don't know,
you should
man.
be ashamed of yourself.
Yeah.
Nah, man.
Kick you off the pod.
Puka's that dude.
Look, we're looking for another third for the pod. Y'all go ahead.
Puka's
Send your
that dude.
resumes to the email. It's gonna be right here on the screen.
After what he did for us last year, come on, man, come on now, come on.
But you could say the same thing for Cooper Kupp, though. All right?
Cooper Kupp was 31 over the hill, like you could visibly see the decline.
I got you, but he had a historic season.
Had.
That was like 3 years ago.
Had.
All right. Well, I mean, like Puka had it.
That was like around
Yeah.
COVID.
This
Like,
man
we're
talking
so
pre-COVID.
far past that, yeah.
This man coming out
I
with
know.
pre-COVID
Hey,
stats.
no, but
Yeah.
here's the thing with Puka. First of all, let's not discount. He did have the most historic rookie season out of wide receiver ever.
Yep.
Right? Like that's just not something just anybody can just do. Like
But
he's
you
the
don't think
best
that it's
receiver.
weird that that he had the most historic rookie season ever right after another guy on his same team had a historic all time.
But Kupp didn't have a historic the year prior. He had a historic like a few years prior. But here's the thing with Puka. He was like the way he was getting his targets. First of all, he was getting a SH load of targets.
Yeah.
But even the targets he was getting, they weren't just like manufactured touches. This dude was getting real grimy in his targets. Like he was catching passes between 3 defenders.
Yep.
And like running people over. And like he was earning his work. Like
Yeah.
it wasn't just like manufactured screens or like he was just wide open. And then when Kupp did eventually come back, look at week 19. He was still going off.
Still going off.
Still going up.
From week 13 on.
And on top of all
23,
this,
14, 10,
on top of all
35,
this,
18.
he was
14.
a rookie.
Yeah, man.
He's still figuring it out. He's still like ascending technically. And then on top of all of that, what type other than Kupp coming back? And honestly, if you really look at it, Kupp might open up more things for him. Honestly, because when it was just him,
Yeah.
everybody knew he was the guy, and he
Yeah.
still was going crazy.
Yeah.
But on top of all that, what other competition they bring, right? Like Demarcus Robinson was already there. Tutu was already there.
Yep.
Like they didn't bring any other options again except for who's that guy from UT, your alma mater, Jordan Winningham, I guess.
Whittington.
Woodington.
Yeah.
They brought him in, who's like a late round pick. But besides that, man.
Yeah.
Honestly, the whole Rams offense, I think, is just gonna keep it moving.
Yeah.
Like,
So
I
as
have
long
no
as
problem with
Stafford
any
is
of them,
healthy, he'll be good. He'll be all right.
Yeah, I agree. But I do see. I mean, obviously, we just can't just totally ignore it. It was a one year thing. You know, we just can't just say we've seen it, so it's just always going to be that way. There's a chance he can fall off a little bit.
Yeah.
But just the way he produced last year, I mean, if you're putting a bet, and again, you're looking at the alternatives. You're looking at Garrett Wilson in that time, that range, AJ Brown. I mean, I see Puka. Again, if he does 80% of what he did last year, that's a great season for him.
Yeah.
Great season. Put it like this: if Puka duplicated what he did last year, he probably should be top 5.
Oh, yeah.
If he duplicated,
Yeah.
right? So we're
For sure.
already drafting him with the assumption he's going to regress a little
Yeah.
bit. You know, so
And he has upside because, like you said,
he does
he's a
have
rookie.
upside. He does have upside. So
Speaking of upside, let's talk about AJ Brown for a second. Do you guys see any upside for AJ Brown? I mean, we know what he has.
Yes. It
You
all
see
comes down.
upside? I mean, like he's a top 4 receiver last year, and you think that he can improve on that?
He's going at pick 11 right now in ADP. So
Right.
based on ADP, he definitely has upside. He has upside to be the number one overall wide receiver. The biggest thing is the OC change. Okay.
who's OC this year? I don't remember.
I'm blanking on his name. That's why.
Oh,
I'm
you
like
already
that. former Cowboys, then was the Chargers.
Liam Cohen,
No, he was with the Chargers.
Joe Brady.
Kellen Moore.
Kellen Moore. That's right. I don't know.
Oh,
why I was
Kellen
like
Moore
that.
went over
Yeah. So the biggest
Really?
thing. The biggest thing is
keep
I
giving
know
him
you
breaks.
hate Kellen Moore.
Y'all keep giving him
Oh,
breaks.
okay.
Y'all keep giving him
when
breaks.
Kellen Moore had a healthy. When he had a healthy team
Just
last
move
year,
on.
they
Just
were
move
putting up
on.
a lot of points.
All right.
I didn't know
Either
Kellen
way,
Moore went over there.
The biggest thing is like the
Got fired
increased
again.
pace. The increased pace. Okay, the increased pace. That just makes me more plays, more motion, more moving guys around. A big knock on the offense last year was basically that they would just have these wide receivers stagnant, no motion, no creative play call, and just have the wide receivers win on their own. So with Kellen Moore, there's a lot more nuance to the offense, a lot more route concept to the offense, more motion to the offense. Another reason why I love Devontae Smith as well. But if there's increased pace and we see more plays and we see more of an explosive offense, like he could legit be the wide receiver 1.
So you think Devontae Smith is going to be the receiver 2 for this team? Are you
I-
pretty
I
sure
don't-
of that?
I-
So you think
honestly, I-
there's a chance Devontae Smith can be
Yeah, that's
wide
why.
receiver
Yeah,
one?
and
That's the
Devontae
thing that
Smith
scares
going
me about it.
Yeah, and that's why I think that's why he's going in the 11th, or as at the back end of the first round. But Devontae Smith going in the 4th. That's why it's hard for me. Like that's why I would wait literally until the back end of the first round before I took AJ Brown, because I'm just thinking I could just see myself, getting Devontae Smith in the 4th. I mean, early on in drafts, like I was getting Devontae Smith at like 4'11", 4'12", like. I mean, it was just luck.
Where's
like,
he going now?
He's moving back up a little bit. He's like early mid 4th round pick.
Okay.
So, but AJ Brown, I think, from a TD standpoint, like big play standpoint, it's just a
Clear
solid pick.
alpha too, so I give you that.
Yeah, he's a solid pick. But
Yeah,
it's gonna come down to the offense. It's
My
gonna come
thing
down to the
is, he's starting to get a little older.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, his game is not, he's not a fast guy. Like he's not somebody that's just gonna always just burn by. He's, he's a body,
Big
block
guy.
you out
Yeah.
type guy. I don't know. I mean, he's not too old. 27 is not too old, but he just he needs the targets.
Yeah.
Right.
And he just got paid too.
But Devontae Smith got paid too.
Yeah, both
They
of them
paid
got
both
paid.
of them. You
Yeah.
know. I don't know. Like, I guess I had AJ Brown. Y'all know I've been an AJ Brown. Like, I'm a big AJ Brown fan.
Yeah.
I've been an
Yeah.
AJ Brown fan since he was with the Titans.
Yeah.
But look at week 11. Like, what was that?
Yeah.
Explain that to me. And I guess that's my thing.
Well, he played KC. Remember KC? The Chiefs. The Chiefs secondary last year was locking people down. When people were getting on Diggs and
Okay,
when
so
they were
what
playing
happened week 17?
Week 17 against. Oh man, that's when they.
What
had
happened
given
week
up.
2?
That's the back end where they literally had given up. Remember in the playoffs they had just given up.
No, but they were still trying to make the playoffs. Remember they
I
had
know,
that
I know,
long,
but
they had like a 6-game losing streak and backed into the playoffs and then lost the first round.
There was something going on with that team last year with it just looked like they just gave up. And then by the time they got to the playoffs, it just looked like they didn't even want to be there.
Yeah, I feel you. I guess just
Because they lost
that's
their
just my thing.
Cardinals. They lost their
Like,
Cardinals who really had nothing to play for.
And I guess it'll be too late to wait for it to happen because obviously you have to draft him before it happens. But I just got to see that they still want to utilize him all the time. Because I felt like the games where he had good games because he was complaining. That week he was
Yeah.
like, man, I didn't get the ball.
Yeah.
Throw me the ball, like squeaky wheel narrative. And then the
Yeah.
next week he went off.
Yeah.
But it's like, okay, if he didn't do that, what they was going to be status quo.
Yeah.
And again, just Devontae Smith is still the young guy. I feel like he's still kind of improving on his game.
Yeah, and I think I agree with you because I'm easily taking Garrett Wilson ahead of him, and I'm definitely taking Jonathan Taylor ahead of him.
I'm big on
And-
JT this year.
Yeah.
Man.
Y'all big on JT?
I'm big on JT this year.
Absolutely.
Like, I think people
Absolutely.
forgot how great he was.
Absolutely.
Like, he was hurt the year prior. Then last year he came back. But when he came back, he was going off.
Yeah.
And he was Shane Steichen, man. Like, that coach, like, as a Texans fan, that guy scares the shit out of me.
Yeah. Yes, he does.
Like, straight up.
yes, he does.
I mean, look what he did with Minshew.
Yeah.
Your boy.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know about
Minshew
my
and
boy.
Zach Moss.
I just think that he
Like
can
2 years
produce.
ago, if you told me the team has Minshew and Zach Moss, I'd be like, man, they're going 0-17. Them boys was one game away from the playoffs, and the only reason they didn't go to the playoffs, and I'm saying this as a Texans fan, is because their running back dropped, or Minshew short armed that pass to their running back.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
the only reason.
only
One
reason.
play.
That's the only reason.
It would, if that one play happened, the whole narrative of this whole summer would have been totally different. And now he's getting A. Rich back,
Yeah.
who was also a threat in the run game. And then you get JT, man, come on, man.
Man, like he had 188 on us? God, wait.
The Colts offense as a whole, man.
I'm telling you, people forgot what he was. And that's what I'm targeting because I feel like people remember
Yeah.
he should be going like in the mid.
Yeah, he should be going mid
Mid-first.
first. Yeah.
So
yeah.
I'm trying to, I need to get in a draft tonight. I'm trying to draft him as many times as I
That's,
can.
that's why I said JT is one of the main reasons why I say I love that. I
Yeah.
love that 10 spot
Yeah.
because you potentially like get like the high end wide receiver. Like a lovely start is like Garrett Wilson, Jonathan Taylor. Like that's a lovely start.
Yeah.
All
feel
right, so
like-
let's finish with Garrett Wilson. We've talked about, the Jets a lot. We talked about Garrett Wilson a lot so far. He's rounding out, the end of the first. With all the love for Aaron Rodgers, why is he going so late if you think that he
You
could
think that's
potentially-
late?
I think that's late considering that y'all think that they're going to somehow win the division and be better
I didn't
than-
say that. That was Abby that was saying
I
that.
said they could win a division.
All right, I'm about to say, because if they win a division,
I
then he
can
has to
see
go
them win a
off.
division.
I can see it too,
can
but
easily
I
see
don't
them win a
know yet.
division.
So, I mean, you
Yeah,
want to talk about Wilson
I
first?
don't see.
Because my thing with Wilson, I don't have much to say about it, but I'm just a little concerned about all the other pieces they added. Mm-hmm. Like, he's not the only show in town anymore. For, I think, the first 2 years, it was just Wilson.
Who they had?
Mike Williams.
Man, Mike
Williams.
Williams coming off an ACL. Man, Mike Williams is a one-trick pony.
I mean, maybe, but they added him.
Okay.
And then they drafted Corley, and I don't know if y'all saw it, but, the coaches, they were so
Yeah.
high on Corley, they were literally saying before the draft, like that on draft day thing, what is the thing? Must draft Corley. They had that note. Like
Yeah.
the coaches texted. So obviously, behind him, Corley is staying with Aaron Rodgers. Like he invited him to stay at his house. Like,
Yeah.
That's wild.
I look at it like this: Garrett Wilson is Devontae Adams. Like Aaron
that
Rodgers.
offense?
Aaron Rodgers. We've seen it year after year after year. Aaron Rodgers, number one, is the best
The
option
guy?
the guy to go after.
I mean, was
With the
Aaron Rodgers
exception of
playing?
when it was Lazard. And look what he did to Lazard.
Yeah.
Look what he did for Lazard.
But did Aaron Rodgers play? And this is like way back. But did Aaron Rodgers play with Donald Driver and
Yeah.
that other receiver?
And Brandon,
no,
Jennings?
I think it's
Yeah, Greg Jennings.
Greg
I don't know
Jennings.
if
Greg
he's-
Jennings. I
Was
wanna say Brandon
that was
Jennings.
Aaron Rodgers? That was the early Aaron Rodgers.
yeah.
year.
But all of those Green Bay wide receivers to start off their rookie year didn't really do much. Even like the Jordy Nelson, like his rookie year, Devontae Adams took a couple years before he got started too as well. So
I mean, with all that being said, and just thinking about it, I guess if Aaron Rodgers did decide to like key in on Wilson,
Yeah.
Wilson should have a good season.
because when you talk about Garrett Wilson's target competition versus like literally almost any other wide receivers target competition, like it's not even close.
You don't think so?
No, you could. If we go back to the first round, the other guys definitely have significant better target
CD?
competitions in my
But
mind.
not CD.
CD has Ferguson, and he's got Brandon Cooks. Brandon Cook has done more in this league and is healthier than Mike
So you
Williams.
like Cooks
and he's got Jake Ferguson. Jake Ferguson is better than Tyler Conklin.
But
like
those guys
Cooks-
were there last year, and we saw CD get force fed the ball.
I mean,
They
Cooks
were-
is also real old now.
Yeah, but Mike Williams is old and coming off an ACL.
How old is Mike Williams? 27, 28?
30.
He's 30.
He's 30?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know
dude
that.
Dude is old and a brand new system. And I don't know like if he's even like started like practicing just yet. And then you're talking about a
That's a
rookie.
good point. I
You're
haven't
talking
heard
about like
nothing about
a mid-round, wide receiver rookie. Yeah, they may be high on him, but like, outside of a couple gadget plays here or there, some design plays,
I mean-
like this is Garrett Wilson's year to shine.
Yeah, I mean, you might be selling me a little bit on Garrett Wilson. You might be going a little bit too late. So, I feel you. on
Yeah,
that.
that's why I have him above
Probably
Puka.
target him.
All right, guys, that rounds out the first round, man. God, look, that was the whole pile. Like, we wanted to talk about running backs.
Yeah,
and
we're gonna talk about running backs. We're gonna talk about the second round. We're
We
gonna
ain't
say
talking
that.
about
Yeah.
now one
We
side
gotta say
end, bro.
that.
No,
we
not
have
yet,
work
not
tomorrow.
yet.
You gotta be at work. Got a
Yeah.
9 to 5.
All right.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Please like, rate,
Oh,
subscribe.
wait. You got a few sleepers, right? Dynasty, right?
Go ahead.
Dynasty sleepers. Who did I say last week? Because I don't want to repeat.
I don't know.
Okay, so real quick, Eric Gray. We talked about him last week.
Yep.
Target Eric Gray, man. I think Eric Gray is going to.
Okay,
be
look, let's not
very
mention
useful.
his name no more.
Right.
Yeah,
trying to get
that was the last time.
Last time I mentioned him.
We done it 2 weeks. If you didn't listen to the first 2 pods, that's
Yeah,
on you.
last time I mentioned him. Well, shit. If I can't mention him, I'll leave it alone. Then I'll leave it alone. I mean, I got others, but
No, you already mentioned him. Like you can. I'm just saying, we're not gonna keep beating that one.
Okay.
I'm not trying to increase his ADP.
I mean, like I said, these ambiguous backfields, and we were going to talk about that. Look for those those running back threes. Oh, gosh, I really. Just
Let's say
stuck
that
on Eric
topic,
Gray.
though. Let's say that topic.
Oh, I got one. I got a tight end. Lucas Kroll, Denver Broncos.
Good boy.
Yeah.
Hey, remember the last time I said something about a Denver Bronco?
Who was it?
Jaleel McLaughlin.
Yeah.
I was like, who is Jaleel? This dude not
Did he
even
really
making the
pan
team.
out, though?
Say what? We had a couple good games here, and there, but like he was relevant. Like from being like absolutely not relevant whatsoever.
Yeah.
To not being drafted. I started him a couple weeks too. I think when Javonte was out. Shoot, and that Denver backfield is when we talk about ambiguous backfields, that is one I think we're gonna have to hit on multiple times throughout the offseason.
Do you think that's ambiguous?
It's hella ambiguous. It's so ambiguous. Very,
I don't think
because I don't know what they remember. This regime did not draft Javonte Williams, and clearly Javonte was coming off an injury last year. But they used 3 different running backs. They drafted a running back. They're talking up other running backs whenever he's asked about the running back room as well. So there's that depth chart is pretty significant. So how that shakes out, who's cut. Who goes with or who emerges as the primary down back, the pass catching back. All those things I think are very, very important because I think there is going to be some value in that backfield.
The Mavericks about to lose that game. Okay.
Yeah.
Look at what the Vikings are doing at the tight end position. Because T.J. Hawkinson is not going to be ready for the start of the season.
No.
So just look at you might be able to kind of sneak somebody in there that's valuable at least to start the season. Look at whatever the Texans are doing at running back 2. I know everybody wants it to be Dameon Pierce, but Dameon Pierce might get traded or he just
cut.
might fall out. I don't think he's going to get cut, but he might just fall out. Then on top of that, look at what the Browns are doing at running back. Chubb, I don't think he's going to start the season. And the Browns' other options are going way too late in drafts.
Deontay Foreman.
And if we knew who the starter was, he would definitely be going a lot higher. So while he's still late, take him.
It's one of the best offensive lines in NFL.
And I'm going to bang the drum on Tank Dell, man. Tank Dell, don't sleep on him. I know Nico just got paid. I know Diggs just got traded for and paid. But Tank Dell has a skill set that's out of this world. And he's still very young. He's still figuring it out. And he's to some extent uncoverable. Diggs can be covered, Nico can be covered, but Tank, if he's on his game, he can't be covered. So
If we can get him to the season. All right, guys, that is our episode for this week. Please rate, subscribe. We're out.
I miss that sexy smile.